So we have our infrastructure, we have a managing point, we have a distribution point, we have the backend almost ready. Right now we need a couple of extra that I normally call basic roles. So the basic roles now is we have, so let's write this down here, the SCCM server, and then we have the managing point and this distribution point, and we have the client here. So we have a new role called fallback status point. So let's say there is a problem here installing the client, problem with the communication with the managing point. So this connection here for some reason did not work. The managing point refused the connection. So what's going to happen is the configuration manager client will connect to the fallback status point and say, hey, fallback status point, I don't know what to do. Okay, I have this problem, I'm not able to install, or I cannot communicate with the managing point. For example, the certificate's wrong, the installation, whatever happened, then it will communicate with the fallback status point. The communication with the fallback status point happen with the port 8, okay, and it's anonymous. So this normally is installed in another server with only the fallback status point for security reason, because we are just accepting anything that comes with port 80. So for us to install a new role, we are going here to administration, site configuration, servers. So then we can install a new site role. So for the fallback, we are just looking at the default server installation. So I put here the PowerShell that we need. We need the web server and the web metabase. So that is already installed as part of the distribution point or management point. So we don't need anything else fancy, just the default settings. I open here the logs, config manager logs, and for the fallback, so we are going to use the F to start with the fallback. Then we are going to have a couple of logs written on the F, and also we have the SMS FSP setup. We're going to look later on. So how we install? So I have here the servers. I will add it to existing server, but I could create a new server, what's recommended for a large environment and security reasons. And on the system role selection, I will select the fallback status point. And you can see here added a node. So let's click next. And here, what kind of connection? So we can only have intranet only right now because everything is HTTP. And the number of messages the fallback status point will receive, the maximum number of messages the fallback status point will receive in the number of seconds. So we are talking about 10,000 messages in 3,600 seconds. If I get the calculator here, we are talking about 60 minutes, okay? So 1 hour. If the fallback status point receives more than 10,000 messages per hour, it will start ignoring the extra messages. So now imagine that you have a 15,000 seats environment. You have only one measurement point. Your measurement point is down, so the machines cannot communicate, or there is a problem with the measurement point. It's refusing any connection. And then suddenly, what's going to happen? All those 15,000 machines will start sending data to the fallback status point. Fallback status point will say, oh, wait, too many messages, I will start ignoring. But for you, you already know that, hopefully, between quotes here, you already know that there is a message because you have 10,000 messages. There is an error because you have 10,000 machines reporting problem. So in your environment here, we will not change. It depends on your environment. You may need to change those numbers. So you click next and next as well. So the message or the request has been queued. So now let's click close. On the logs here, shortly, we are going to see the FSP MSI. So let's try to refresh here. Not yet. Yep. Now we have the MSI, and I can also search for the SMS FSP setup. So I will start with this one. So return code is 0, so I don't need to look at the MSI for more information. And if I go on the console, monitoring, system status, component status, I will search for the fallback status point. And in this case is fallback, fall. Just search for fall, then we have the fallback status point. And you see our messages, because this is a new one, is different from the distribution point that's already, well, this MGR that's already there. I look at for 1 day. So the messages that I said we normally expect is 10, 13, 14, 15. So receive the request to install, I'm installing, is successfully installed, and the 500 component has been installed. So as far as I'm aware, there is no way to actually tell if the fallback status point is working or not, like we did with the measuring point. So we have, if we go back here, so we have our distribution point, that is our file server, configuration manager file server installed. The measuring point is actually, let me, oops. The measuring point is also installed, so we have those 2, 3. So the basic infrastructure is almost ready. But for me, there is one extra row that we need to install, and this is probably the most important, not for IT, but for your manager, is the reporting. Because now we have the SCCM console, then we can actually get reports from configuration manager. For example, how many clients, what is the information about the clients, how many softwares has been installed, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the pre-requirement for this, let me go here. I forgot to show. If it fallback, so the fallback support up to 100,000 clients. If I search here for the fallback, it tells monitor client installation and clients are managed because cannot communicate with the measuring point. Down there is the requirements here. The fallback is the IIS and Metabase, and the ports fallback is client to fallback is port 80. Okay, and for the reporting, report service point, we look at port 8 or port 443, depends on our configuration. Right now we are looking only port 8. The pre-requirement is the SQL Server reporting service that we already have. Okay, so then in your case, what we are going to do is add a new row. I think you assume now where you install, you go to administration, site configuration, servers and site system rows, you install, and on the system row selection, then we have here the reporting services point. Okay, and next. So first we need to do is, what is the configuration manager database? So we have the server already populated and the configuration manager database. I'm going to verify. Now it's successfully verified. And what is the folder we are going to install the reports? So if I open here an Internet Explorer as administrator and browse to reports. It takes a few moments on the lab. It depends if you have already opened it, may be a bit faster the second time. Okay, reports, servers work. Now let's open the reports. That's a nice view. So we don't have any folder. So configuration manager, then we'll put all the configuration manager report inside this folder. And this is actually the report server instance. And now we need to have a credential for the configuration manager to use. So we are going to create a new account. This account must exist in Active Directory. So it's a new account for configuration manager. So I will browse, I already create one SQL Server reporting services. No? Probably it's SCCM something. No, I don't recall. So let's search for the account. Here, SVC _ SQL Server reporting service execution account. And what's the password? So you put the password of the account. If this account does not exist, you need to create in Active Directory before. So this is the account. Next. And now we there is summary. So now there is a queued for configuration manager. So I will open here the logs and I will wait for the logs. So as you can imagine, there is a SQL Server reporting services. So the logs will start with SR. So let's just wait for refresh here. So I start SRS RP setup and MSI. So let's get the setup. So we can see here things are happening and error code equal 0. Okay, successfully. So I don't need to open the MSI. As soon as the installation is done, we're going to see here the SQL Server reporting services main log. So and now it starts doing its stuff. We'll come back to this log shortly. So let's see exactly what's happening on the monitoring. Okay, so if we go here on the components out, let me just refresh here. And now search for reporting. So then we have the SMS _ SRS reporting point, show messages. And here we have the messages we were expecting, 10, 13, 14, 15, and 500. Okay, so now Configuration Manager has over 400 reports. As you can see here on the logs, it starts try to connect to that folder. The folder does not exist. We have here the SQL Server, the URL, and here is adding some files and create some folders, copying files, and deploying some reports. Okay, so things are happening. If I refresh here the reporting services, you can see that the folder config mgr is now created, and some subfolders have been created, some reports has been created. On the configuration manager, in the report, on the monitoring under reporting, if I extend, you can see here reports, expand, you can see things are already being started populated. If I select the reports, it's going to show all reports that are right there. We right now have 162 out of over 400. So you can see here lots of reports being deployed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just pause the video. As soon as all reports have been created, I come back to you. Okay, so now it's been completed. So let me close the log. If I refresh here, now we have the 470 reports. Let's just get And if I refresh here, so let me, you should see, yeah, refresh. A lot more folders. Let me get one report here on site general. Computers. See if it's working. Bring anything. Yeah, the report's working, doesn't bring anything because there is no client yet. Server information. Let's get the site code and see what exactly it's there. So we have here some information. So the report is working, is bringing some information. So now is everything almost ready for us to install the client, but there are still lots of things we need to do. So we have the reporting. So basic is port 8 as well. It's using a SQL Server reporting service. Then we have the fallback status point, we have the distribution point and management point. So the back-end infrastructure in terms of roles are completed. So this is the basic. So there is still a lot more for us to configure before we go for the first client. And we will continue configuring on the next one. Hope you like this video. See you on the next one.